Hey guys, it's Mr. Dobbs with your Unit 2 screencast. I'm just going to go through this PowerPoint and some other PowerPoints as we move forward. Will be part of this series. This is just meant to help you out a little bit as we go along. Hopefully you can gain some knowledge that maybe you would gloss over if you were just reading through it. So we start off with the Italian Renaissance, defined obviously as rebirth. And the one thing to pay attention to in this particular part of the unit is the term humanism. Humanism will definitely take place on your exam. It's definitely something I'll be talking about. And just knowing that it's a rediscovery of Greek philosophy isn't enough. You need to understand that a lot of these humanists were coming from the Greek kind of background on antiquity, and they were in Italy, but they were kind of re-examining what the Greeks had originally done. Florence, as you can see in the slide right over here, Florence was the perfect place to have this happen because it was right off of the coast of Greece, and a lot of Greek scholars ended up going to Florence when Greece fell to the Ottoman Empire. It just was the perfect place for this kind of renaissance to happen. The second point here are the merchants. Merchants, for the very first time, are actually dominating politics and society. We saw in the very last unit that what was kind of happening was you had the nobility, you had the kings and the vassals and things like that, but then you had the peasants. Not a lot of stuff was going on in the middle. Well, this was the middle class, and they were basically the bankers, the lawyers, and at some points they kind of ran the show because they owned all of the money. So here is Florence, and as you can see, it's right on the sea. It's a great area to kind of have things come in, shipping and things like that. If you think about even where we are in Toronto, we're right off the lake. One of the reasons we are such a big city here and why Montreal is a big city and why Vancouver and New York and Miami are all big cities is our proximity to water. And so Florence, not only is it close to water, but it is close to a lot of, where a lot of Greek antiquity would have come from. We start our profile, and for this unit, you'll see a lot of people. In the last unit, we really kind of dealt with concepts. In this unit, it's definitely going to be more about people. And we start with Dante Alighieri, the author of the Divine Comedy. And one of the cool things about the Divine Comedy is that it is the very first time that you've got this cross between the secular religion and literature, where he identifies the nine circles of hell, which you might have already heard of prior to this, and he separates them into purgatory, paradise, and heaven. It's a very interesting read, not something I would recommend over the summer, but definitely something that was a game changer as far as literature goes. It brought about some very new ideas. So this video here that you can watch later is kind of a summarization of the Inferno, Dante's Inferno. It's very interesting. I highly recommend you take a look at it. As we move past humanism, and what I've already explained what that is, it's basically the study of classical antiquity. We notice that as we move into humanism, we're going to see a lot more people. And here's the first one, Petrarch. Petrarch was someone who definitely studied Greek and Roman ideals and then influenced a lot of later Renaissance figures. His poetic style was something that everybody kind of drew from, and he's known as the father of humanism because of that. One in particular that drew from him was Machiavelli. His Prince, which you'll be studying in this unit, was something that was very unique because it was almost like a satirical version of politicians that were in the present day or in the past Florence, and he was almost like making fun of them in a way, but at the same time honoring them. So it was an interesting read by Machiavelli. He basically as you'll see in the video, he basically came up with this kind of concept that would it be better to be loved or feared, which is something that in business, even today, a lot of major corporations like Amazon and Google kind of have decided to treat their employees with a different kind of manner. Whereas in the past, it was if you want a job, you better fear your boss. And so this is all kind of Machiavellian theories that originated here in the Renaissance. This is a question that you'll be dealing with later, so I'm going to skip these two questions and move on to Chaucer, which is the hardest thing you'll ever read if you can try it. Canterbury Tales is a very, very difficult read, but the one thing about it is it's a commentary on kind of English society, as well as the corruption within the church. You'll see a lot of things with Chaucer and Canterbury Tales talking about like how the church, makes money and how they're not really all about God and helping people. They're sometimes a little shady, and you'll notice as we move through the Renaissance period, you'll notice that things like indulgences will pop up again. And Chaucer kind of was the person that first started to notice some of these issues with the church. The idea of man is something that you'll be dealing with as well. The idea of men prior to the Renaissance was a guy who was a knight that would kill and fight and honor the vassal and someone who was tough and strong. Well, in the Renaissance, that kind of changed. It was someone who was well educated, somebody who could speak, who could go out in public and have thoughts and things that they needed to say. They were interested in the arts. Being interested in the arts almost meant that you were educated. You were also athletic, and you could defend yourself. So it was kind of a combination, but the arts are something that is new and something that's very, very important. The idea of woman, though, the woman was upper class, well educated, somebody who became a muse, somebody who people looked to, but also someone who didn't say too much. Was that well educated, but someone who wouldn't, put that up in somebody's face. I'm going to end this particular slide share screencast with the Medicis because I don't want to go too much further after these guys. The Medici family is by far the most influential family of the Renaissance period. They're the ones who are responsible for everything from the artwork you see in the Sistine Chapel to the popes that lived in the Vatican. They ran the show. They were, the business of the time. Some people call them the very first mafia. This family had nothing to do with nobility. They were all bankers, all from the merchant class, but they held so much rank in society, and they basically helped to push forward the Renaissance period. So I hope this helps explain some of these topics. I'm going to try and do this once in a while just to help out. I noticed that some of you guys were asking some questions over the last period of notes. If you have any questions, please drop me a line, and look forward to reading some of your assignments. Have a good night.